Krishna, my dear devotees. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, right here in the live studios in Hive, or if you speak Anglo-Saxon, it's Haven. And we're trying to make it a haven by always hearing and chanting Srila Prabhupada's books. And as you all know, as well as me, yesterday was the first daily readings in a little more than a month. And it was so ecstatic. I was so pleased, I can't express it. Spiritually relieved. But I didn't realize how long the chapter was, and I kept going reading until 8:30. And it was a little over the top. So all things taken into consideration, I'm going to have to go back to finishing my reading at 8 o'clock and then have our reflections so that I can keep up the pace that I have to keep up in order to finish this audiobook during Prabhupada's 125th anniversary year. Okay. Sanatana Goswami glorified the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in a stotram that comes within Sri Krishna Lila Stava, which is meant to glorify the pastimes of Krishna, especially in Vrindavan. It ends with the killing of Kamsa, actually. And his idea was to offer 108 obeisances to Krishna Lila. And he did that in 416 verses. And the 107th obeisance was the Śrīmad-Bhāgavata Mahima Stotram. And it goes like this. Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drakprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Śrīmad-Bhāgavata Prabho Kali Dvanduditaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Man Nistadaka Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu, saduta, asadu, saduta dayin, atini chochata kada, hanamuncha gadachin mam, premna rit kantayokspura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, we've reached at last the final chapter of Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada's masterful summary study of the 10th canto of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the summum bonum, not only of the Bhagavatam, but of all transcendental literature, the basis for all the rasa shastras of our previous acharyas. Chapter 90, summary description of Lord Krishna's pastimes, the last chapter. After returning from the spiritual kingdom, which he was able to visit personally with Krishna, Arjuna was very much astonished. He thought to himself that although he was only an ordinary living entity, by the grace of Krishna, it had been possible for him to see the spiritual world. Not only had he seen the spiritual world, but he had also personally seen the original Mahavishnu, the cause of the material creation. It is said that Krishna never goes out of Vrindavan. Vrindavanam parityaja padam ekang nagacchati. Krishna is supreme in Mathura. He is more supreme in Dwarka. And he is most supreme in Vrindavan. Krishna's pastimes in Dwarka are displayed by his Vyāsadeva portion. Yet there is no difference between the Vyāsadeva portion manifested in Mathura and Dwarka and the original manifestation of Krishna in Vrindavan. In the beginning of this book, we have discussed that when Krishna appears, all his incarnations, plenary portions, and portions of the plenary portions come with him. Thus, some of his different pastimes are manifested not by the original Krishna himself, but by his expansions. And here we are, stuck. Oh Krishna Chaitanya. I'm having some problems with my database on my computer. So it's not moving. Sorry. Get the iPad. A little unexpected sorry for the inconvenience. There's some technical difficulty with the database running on my computer. It's been happening for just a few days now. But we'll get a proper something to read from momentarily. Yes. Yes. Yeah, the original expansion. It's okay. Oh, dear Vaishnavas, please forgive me for this. There's always something unexpected coming on in the material world, isn't it? We have to be prepared. Yeah, here we are. undisturbed under all conditions. We have to continue. Yes. Why Arjuna was puzzled by Krishna's going to see Karanavashayi Vishnu in the spiritual world is fully discussed in the commentaries of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur as follows. It is understood from the speech of Mahavishnu that he was very eager to see Krishna. It may be said, however, that since Mahavishnu took away the Brahmana's sons, he must certainly have gone to Dwarka to do so. Therefore, why did he not see Krishna there? A possible answer is that unless Krishna gives his permission, he cannot be seen even by Mahavishnu, lying in the causal ocean of the spiritual world. Thus, Mahavishnu took away the Brahmana's sons, one after another, just after their births, so that Krishna would come personally to the causal ocean to retrieve them. And then Mahavishnu would be able to see him there. If that is so, the next question is this. Why would Mahavishnu come to Dwarka personally if he were not able to see Krishna? Why did he not send some of his associates to take away the sons of the Brahmana? A possible answer is that it is very difficult to put any of the citizens of Dwarka into trouble in the presence of Krishna. Therefore, because it was not possible for any of Mahavishnu's associates to take away the Brahmana's sons, he personally came to take them. Another question may be raised. The Lord is known as Brahmanya Deva, the worshipable deity of the Brahmanas. So why was he inclined to put a Brahmana into such a terrible condition of lamentation over one son after another until the 10th son was taken away? The answer is that Lord Mahavishnu was so eager to see Krishna that he did not hesitate even to give trouble to a Brahmana. Although giving trouble to a Brahmana is a forbidden act, Lord Vishnu was prepared to do anything in order to see Krishna. He was so eager to see him. After losing each of his sons, the Brahmana would come to the gate of the palace and accuse the king of not being able to give the Brahmanas protection and of thus being unfit to sit on the royal throne. It was Mahavishnu's plan that the Brahmana would accuse the Kshatriyas and Krishna would be obliged to come see him to take back the Brahmana's sons. Still another question may be raised. If Mahavishnu cannot see Krishna, then how was Krishna obliged to come before him, after all, to take back the sons of the Brahmanas? The answer is that Lord Krishna went to see Lord Mahavishnu, not exactly to take the sons of the Brahmana, but only for Arjuna's sake. His friendship with Arjuna was so intimate that when Arjuna prepared himself to die by entering a fire, Krishna wanted to give him complete protection. Arjuna, however, would not desist from entering the fire unless the sons of the Brahmana were brought back. Therefore, Krishna promised him, I shall bring back the Brahmana's sons. Do not try to commit suicide. If Lord Krishna were going to see Lord Vishnu only to reclaim the sons of the Brahmana, then he would not have waited until the 10th son was taken. But when the 10th son was taken away by Lord Mahavishnu, and when Arjuna was therefore ready to enter the fire because of his promise was going to prove false, that serious situation made Krishna decide to go with Arjuna to see Mahavishnu. It is said that Arjuna is an empowered incarnation of Narayana. He is even sometimes called Narayana. The Narayana incarnation is one of Lord Vishnu's plenary expansions. Therefore, when Krishna and Arjuna went to see Lord Vishnu, it is to be understood that Arjuna visited in his Narayan capacity. Just as Krishna, when he displayed his pastimes in Dwarka, acted in his Vyāsadeva capacity. After visiting the spiritual world, Arjuna concluded that whatever opulence anyone can show within the material or spiritual worlds is all a gift of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna is manifested in various forms, as Vishnu Tattva, and Jiva Tattva, or in other words, as Svangsha and Bibhinangsha. Vishnu Tattva is known as Svangsha, and Jiva Tattva is known as Bibhinangsha. He can, therefore, display himself by his different transcendental pastimes in the portion of either Svangsha or Bibhinangsha, as he likes. But still, he remains the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. The concluding portion of Krishna's pastimes is found in the 90th chapter of the 10th canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And in this chapter, Shukadeva Goswami wanted to explain how Krishna lived happily at Dwarka with all opulences. Krishna's opulence of strength has already been displayed in his different pastimes, and now it will be shown how his residence at Dwarka displayed his opulences of wealth and beauty. In this material world, the opulences of wealth and beauty are considered the highest of all opulences, yet they are only a perverted reflection of these opulences in the spiritual world. Therefore, while Krishna stayed on this planet as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his opulences of wealth and beauty had no comparison within the three worlds. Krishna enjoyed 16,000 beautiful wives, and it is most significant that he lived at Dwarka as the only husband of these thousands of beautiful women. This is specifically stated, that he was the only husband of 16,000 wives. It is, of course, not unheard of in the history of the world that a powerful king would keep many hundreds of queens. But although such a king might be the only husband of so many wives, he could not enjoy all of them all at one time. Lord Krishna, however, enjoyed all of his 16,000 wives simultaneously. Although it may be said that yogis can also expand their bodies into many forms, the yogi's expansion and Lord Krishna's expansion are not the same. Krishna is therefore sometimes called Yogeshwar, the master of all yogis. In the Vedic literature, we find that the yogi Saubhari Muni expanded himself into 8. But that expansion was like a television expansion. The television image is manifested in millions of expansions, but those expansions cannot act differently. They are simply reflections of the original and can only act exactly as the original does. Krishna's expansion is not material, like the expansion of the television or the yogi. When Narada visited the different palaces of Krishna, he saw that Krishna, in his different expansions, was variously engaged in each and every palace of the queens. It is also said that Krishna lived in Dwarka as the husband of the goddess of fortune. Queen Rukmini is the goddess of fortune, and all the other queens are her expansions. So Krishna, the chief of the Vrishni dynasty, enjoyed with the goddess of fortune in full opulence. The queens of Krishna are described as permanently youthful and beautiful. Although Krishna had grandchildren and great-grandchildren, neither Krishna nor his queens looked older than 16 or 20 years of age. The young queens were so beautiful that when they moved, they appeared like lightning moving in the sky. They were always dressed with excellent ornaments and garments, and were always engaged in sportive activities like dancing, singing, or playing ball on the roofs of the palaces. The dancing and tennis playing of girls in the material world are perverted reflections of the original pastimes of the original personality of Godhead Krishna and his wives. The roads and streets of the city of Dwarka were always crowded with elephants, horses, chariots, and infantry soldiers. When elephants are engaged in service, they are given liquor to drink, and it is said that the elephants in Dwarka were given so much liquor that they would sprinkle a great quantity of it on the road and still walk on the streets intoxicated. The infantry soldiers passing on the streets were profusely decorated with golden ornaments, and horses and golden chariots plied along the streets. In all directions of Dwarka city, wherever one would turn his eyes, he would find green parks and gardens, each of them filled with trees and plants laden with fruits and flowers. Because there were so many nice trees of fruits and flowers, all these sweetly chirping birds and buzzing bumblebees joined together to make a sweet vibration. The city of Dwarka was thus fully displayed. The city of Dwarka thus fully displayed all opulences. The heroes of the dynasty of Yadu used to think themselves the most fortunate residents of the city. And actually they enjoyed all transcendental facilities. All the 16,000 palaces of Krishna's queens were situated in this beautiful city of Dwarka. And Lord Krishna, the supreme, eternal enjoyer of all these facilities, expanded himself into 16,000 forms and simultaneously engaged in different family affairs in those 16,000 palaces. In each and every one of the palaces, there were nicely decorated gardens and lakes. The crystal clear water of the lakes contained many blooming lotus flowers of different colors, like blue, yellow, white, and red. And the saffron powder from the lotus flowers was blown all around by the breeze. All the lakes were full of beautiful swans, ducks, and cranes, crying occasionally with melodious sounds. Lord Sri Krishna sometimes entered those lakes or the rivers with his wives and enjoyed swimming pastimes with them in full jubilation. Sometimes the wives of Lord Krishna, who were all goddesses of fortune, would embrace the Lord in the midst of the water after swimming or taking a bath, and the red vermilion of kumkum decorating their beautiful breasts would adorn the chest of the Lord with the reddish color. The impersonalists would not dare believe that in the spiritual world there are such varieties of enjoyment. But in order to demonstrate the factual, ever blissful enjoyment in the spiritual world, Lord Krishna descended to this planet and showed that the spiritual world is not devoid of such pleasurable facilities of life. The only difference is that in the spiritual world, such facilities are eternal, never-ending occurrences, whereas in the material world, they are simply impermanent, perverted reflections. When Lord Krishna was engaged in such enjoyment, the Gandharvas and professional musicians would glorify him with melodious musical concerts, accompanied by kettle drums, mridangas, and other drums, along with stringed instruments and brass bugles, and the whole atmosphere would change into a greatly festive celebration. In a festive mood, the wives of the Lord would sometimes sprinkle water on his body with a syringe-like instrument, and the Lord would similarly wet the bodies of the queens. When Krishna and the queens engaged themselves in these pastimes, it seemed as if the heavenly king, Yaksharaj, were engaged in pastimes with his many wives. Yaksharaj is also known as Kuvera and is considered the treasurer of the heavenly kingdom. When the wives of Lord Krishna thus became wet, their breasts and thighs would increase in beauty 1,000 times, and their long hair would fall down to decorate those parts of their bodies. The beautiful flowers placed in their hair would fall, and the queens, seemingly harassed by the Lord's throwing water at them, would approach him on the plea of snatching the syringe-like instrument. This attempt would create a situation wherein the Lord could embrace them as they willingly approached him. Upon being embraced, the wives of the Lord would feel on their mouths a clear indication of conjugal love, and this would create an atmosphere of spiritual bliss. When the garland on the neck of the Lord then touched the breasts of the queens, their whole bodies became covered with saffron yellow. Being engaged in their celestial pastimes, the queens forgot themselves, and their loosened hair appeared like beautiful waves of a river. When the queen sprinkled water on the body of Krishna, or he sprinkled water on the bodies of the queens, the whole situation appeared just like that of an elephant enjoying in a lake with many she-elephants. After enjoying fully amongst themselves, the queens and Lord Krishna would come out of the water, and they would give up their wet garments, which were very valuable, to be taken away by the professional singers and dancers. These singers and dancers had no means of subsistence other than the rewards of valuable garments and ornaments left by the queens and kings on such occasions. The whole system of society was so well planned that all the members of society, in their different positions as Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, had no difficulty in earning their livelihood. There was no competition among the divisions of society. The original conception of the caste system was so planned that one group of men engaged in a particular type of occupation would not compete with another group of men engaged in a different occupation. In this way, Lord Krishna used to enjoy the company of his 16,000 wives. Some devotees of the Lord who want to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the mellow of conjugal love are elevated to the position of becoming wives of Krishna, and Krishna keeps them always attached to him by his kind behavior. Krishna's behavior with his wives, his movements, his talking with them, his smiling, his embracing, and similar other activities, which are just like those of a loving husband, kept them always very much attached to him. That is the highest perfection of life. If someone remains always attached to Krishna, it is to be understood that he is liberated, and his life is successful. With any devotee who loves Krishna with his heart and soul, Krishna reciprocates in such a way that the devotee cannot but remain attached to him. The reciprocal dealings of Krishna and his devotees are so attractive that a devotee cannot think of any subject matter other than Krishna. For all the queens, Krishna was their only worshipable object. They were always absorbed in thought of Krishna, the lotus-eyed and beautifully blackish personality of Godhead. Sometimes, in thought of Krishna, they remained silent, and in great ecstasy of bhava and anubhava, they sometimes spoke as if in delirium. Sometimes, even in the presence of Lord Krishna, they vividly described the pastimes they had enjoyed in the lake or river with him. Some of such talk is described here. The queen said, "Dear Kurari bird, now it is very late at night. Everyone is sleeping. The whole world is now calm and peaceful. At this time, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is sleeping, although his knowledge is undisturbed by any circumstances. Then why are you not sleeping? Why are you lamenting like this throughout the whole night? Dear friend, is it that you are also attracted to the lotus eyes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and by his sweet smiling and attractive words, exactly as we are? Do those dealings of the Supreme Personality of Godhead pinch your heart as they do ours? Hello, Chakravarti. Hello, Chakravaki. Why have you closed your eyes? Are you searching after your husband, who may have gone to foreign countries? Why are you lamenting so pitiably? Alas, it appears that you are very much aggrieved. Or is it a fact that you also are willing to become an eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? We think that you are anxious to put a garland on the lotus feet of the Lord and then place it on your hair. Oh dear ocean, why are you roaring all day and night? Don't you like to sleep? We think you have been attacked by insomnia, or if we are not wrong, our dear Shyamasundar has tactfully taken away your gravity and power of forbearance, which are your natural qualifications. Is it a fact that for this reason you are suffering from insomnia like this? Yes, we admit that there is no remedy for this disease. Dear moon god, we think you have been attacked by a severe type of tuberculosis. For this reason you are becoming thinner and thinner day by day. O Lord, you are now so weak that your thin rays cannot dissipate the darkness of night. Or is it a fact that just like us, you have been stunned by the mysteriously sweet words of our Lord Shyamasundar? Is it a fact that it is because of this severe anxiety that you are so grave? O breeze from the Himalayas, what have we done to you that you are so intent on teasing us by awakening our lust to meet Krishna? Do you not know that we have already been injured by the crooked policy of the personality of Godhead? Dear Himalayan breeze, please know that we have already been stricken. There is no need to injure us more and more. Dear beautiful cloud, the color of your beautiful body exactly resembles the bodily hue of our dearmost Shyamasundar. We think, therefore, that you are very dear to our Lord, the chief of the dynasty of the Yadus, and because you are so dear to him, you are absorbed in meditation, exactly as we are. We can appreciate that your heart is full of anxiety for Shyamasundar. You appear excessively eager to see him, and we see that for this reason only, drops of tears are gliding down from your eyes, just as they are from ours. Dear black cloud, we must admit frankly that to establish an intimate relationship with Shyamasundar means to purchase unnecessary anxieties while we are otherwise comfortably at home. Certainly the cuckoo sounds its cooing vibration at the end of night or early in the morning. When the queens heard the cooing of the cuckoo at the end of night, they said, "Dear cuckoo, your voice is very sweet. As soon as you vibrate your sweet voice, we immediately remember Shyamasundar, because your voice exactly resembles his. We must frankly admit that your voice is imbued with nectar, and it is so invigorating that it is competent to bring back life to those who are almost dead in separation from their dearmost friend. So we are very much obliged to you. Please let us know how we can welcome you or how we can do something for you." The queens continued talking like that, and they addressed the mountain as follows. "Dear mountain, you are very generous. By your gravity alone, by your gravity only, the whole crust of this earth is properly maintained, although because you are discharging your duties very faithfully, you do not know how to move. Because you are so grave, you do not move hither and thither, nor do you say anything. Rather, you always appear in a thoughtful mood. It may be that you are always thinking of a very grave and important subject matter, but we can guess very clearly what you are thinking of. We are sure that you are thinking of placing the lotus feet of Shyamasundar on your raised peaks, as we want to place his lotus feet on our raised breasts. Dear dry rivers, we know that because this is the summer season, all your beds are dry and you have no water. Because all your water has now been dried up, you are no longer beautified by blooming lotus flowers. At the present moment, you appear very lean and thin, and so we can understand that your position is exactly like ours. We have lost everything, due to being separated from Shyamasundar. And when we no longer hear his pleasing words, our hearts no longer work properly, and therefore we have also become very lean and thin. We think therefore that you are just like us. You have turned lean and thin because you are not letting any water from your husband, the ocean, because you are not getting any water from your husband, the ocean, through the clouds. The example given herewith by the queens is very appropriate. The riverbeds become dry when the ocean no longer supplies water through the clouds. The ocean is supposed to be the husband of the river, and therefore is supposed to support her. Unless a woman is supported by her husband with the necessities of life, she also becomes as dry as a dry river. Hare Krishna. So this is very, very difficult to do. Believe me, please. But I'm going to stop here tonight. It's 8 o'clock exactly, and I just have to keep on this schedule. Please forgive me for that. Hare Krishna. And we'll begin tomorrow night exactly where we left off, in this 90th chapter, as the queens are speaking like madwomen, just like the gopis speak sometimes like madwomen in separation from Krishna. But the queens, this is very special, because Krishna is right there with them. This is the ultimate feeling of ecstasy. It's called, just now I can't remember the Sanskrit, sorry. But it means that the anticipation of the Krishna leaving is so powerful that it can make Krishna disappear into their eyes. Prema vichitya. It's called prema vichitya. It's the highest stage of ecstasy. Hare Krishna. So we'll stop here and we'll ask that the devotees please give your reflections. And I know that we missed some of the reflections yesterday because they weren't always appearing in the reading properly. So if we missed any of you, please forgive us for that. Hare Krishna.
First is something from Bhaktamatsu.
Bhaktamatsu, Hare Krishna, all the way from Denver, I think.
She says, please accept my most humble obeisances, all glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. Maharaj, words fall short in expressing my sincere gratitude to have you back reading again.
Well, thank you very much, Bhaktamatsu. I appreciate it. I'm also feeling great relief from being here with you all.
I know many of us have felt indescribable separation from you in the daily readings. Thanks so much for everything you do for all of us.
Hare Krishna. Well, thank you so much. That's very sweet of you. And I feel the same. But also, I want to point out that when we finish this chapter, we will have 1,000 videos. And each one of those videos were recorded live. So if for some reason I'm not able to do the live readings, you can turn to those, hopefully, and get some relief. Hare Krishna.
From Brian Phillips.
Haribol Bhakta Brian. I got a couple of letters for you that I have to respond to, but I've been so busy and downtrodden. I'll get to them as soon as I can. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda.
Jai Haribol.
So wonderful to be with you once again.
Hare Krishna. Likewise.
From Gopakanya Devidasi.
Jai Gopakanya Devidasi, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj and all friends, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. And from Rati Manjari.
From Rati, Haribol Rati.
Jai Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
From Anandamurti Devidasi.
Jai Anandamurti. Haribol.
Says, Jai Guru Dev, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for the daily reading of Srila Prabhupada's books. I understand that Arjuna is very dear to Lord Krishna, so in order to help Arjuna for killing himself, Krishna went to Mahavishnu's place. I understand how Krishna is reciprocating with each of the devotees.
Yes, and actually it's stated by our previous acharyas that this is the actual topmost glory of God, of Krishna. And that is that he becomes so dear, they become so dear to him that he's willing to do something, go out of his way, become controlled by their need. That is the greatest opulence of Krishna. And it overflows especially in Vrindavan and as we're hearing here in Dwarka. Hare Krishna.
From Sudevi Dasi.
Yes, Sudevi, Hare Krishna.
Please accept my obeisance. Wonderful having you back.
Jai.
Haribol.
Haribol, thank you very much.
And from Yadutama Das.
Haribol Yadutama.
He says, Hare Krishna Gurudev.
Hare Krishna.
My humble obeisances, all glories to Prabhupada.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
And all glories to your eternal service to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
And from Gauranga Gopal.
Haribol Gauranga Gopal.
Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to His divine grace. Hare Krishna.
So excited to be back hearing from you.
Haribol.
Thank you for reading this very poetic part of Krishna book. I appreciate how everything is so personal in the spiritual world. Hearing the queens addressing the rivers, mountains, and birds. Can we say that the rivers and mountains in the material world also has personality?
Not exactly. Everything is conscious, but it's covered. In the material world, everything's covered, so the original feelings aren't as strong, and those living beings that have non-moving forms, they're completely covered. So they don't have the same ability to reciprocate. But those same non-moving living beings in the spiritual world, they are in love with Krishna, Shantaras. So they can experience the ecstasies, but not in the material world.
From Vrajaloka.
Yes, Prajaloka, Haribol.
Hare Krishna, dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to you. I feel so blessed as you are here with us again. Thank you for your wonderful service.
Well, frankly, it's the most delightful service I've ever done in my life. So there you have it, Hare Krishna. Pleasure is all mine, as they say.
Today I liked so much the wonderful description of how Krishna's and his devotees love nurturing each other. Quote, with any devotee who loves Krishna with his heart and soul, Krishna reciprocates in such a way that the devotee cannot but remain attached to him. The reciprocal dealings of Krishna and his devotees are so attractive that a devotee cannot think of any subject matter other than Krishna.
Yes.
Unquote. Thank you for being here and helping us taste the nectar.
Thank you for being there. Hare Krishna. All I can say is, I can't really express my gratitude because it's very deep. I don't have the words, but thank you very much for being patient while we finish this proof hearing and the final stages of preparing the audiobook of the CC, which we want to get out hopefully by the disappearance day of Srila Prabhupada. We're working very hard to do that, and it will be a milestone, a first, and I believe very, very important for the Krishna consciousness movement in the whole world. And we will stick to this program of stopping our reading at 8, and then 8 or 8:15, 8:10 or 8:15, something like that. Then we'll stop our readings. And in this way, we will go on, relishing together the pastimes of Krishna. Wait, we have one more. One more from Rati. Haribol Rati. I was hoping.
Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my respectful obeisances. Having you back with us and reading transcendental knowledge to us after a busy day is like being wrapped in a transcendental blanket, which puts everything into its proper place and makes everything all right.
Hare Krishna, thank you. I feel exactly the same. Thank you so much. Krishna book, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivedanta, Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. See you tomorrow night, same time, same place, same topic. Hare Krishna.